Hello, I'm Ian Stafford, and here I am once again with Lewis Moody, the former England captain and winner of 71 international caps, and we're here to preview week 4 of the RBS Six Nations. It's been pretty good so far, Lewis, after a week's break. The weekend starts early, Friday night, under the lights in Cardiff. Wales against Ireland. On paper, an absolute cracker, and it's a game that really neither team can afford to lose.
Very exciting game indeed, and you just spoke about me being a retired player. It was actually 5 years ago today that I did retire.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether that's congratulations or not. It's gone bloody quickly. But the rugby this weekend, it's been an epic tournament today, and there are 2 games that are particularly exciting. You've mentioned the first one, Wales v Ireland. Again, my old position, the back row area is going to be so prominent for both teams. Wales and Ireland both have wonderful players in there. Will Heaslip dominate from 8? How will the Welsh back row? Will Tipuric, will Warburton, will they function as well as they have done when they all but dominated England and ended up on the wrong side of that result? Not from an Englishman's point of view, of course. So a really, really exciting encounter and one to look forward to.
Wales will be disappointed in their campaign so far. If they were to lose this game, they've got France away. They could end up 5th in the Six Nations, which is almost unheard of. So, they're going to be really, really pumped up, especially after such a disappointing second half against Scotland.
Well, we called the Scotland result, didn't we? We said
we did.
Yeah, I don't like to talk it up too much.
I don't know who's more surprised, you or me.
We were impressive. Scotland have been a wonderful entity in their own right, but Wales are definitely on that downward curve. I certainly sensed in that England defeat that their heads had bowed. The manner in which they played that game, which had been for 60 minutes or 78 minutes or whatever, a very good performance. But losing to England in that manner at home was always going to take them over the edge, and it's continued to go that way. But they lost to a very good Scotland side. Now it's up to Adam Jones to sort of put his troops in, galvanise them. At least it's at home. I think from my point of view, Wales have a huge amount to play for, but I think Ireland are going to sense that they can still go. If they win this game, they'll go home, and they'll fancy beating England at home, which England hopefully will be playing for a Grand Slam. Ireland will be playing for a Six Nations title. It'll make that game incredibly exciting. It's just whether Wales can put up enough of a resistance to make any sort of game of it against Ireland and stop them sneaking it.
The neutral will probably want an Irish win for that very fact that it sets up the grand finale a weekend after next. Ireland's defeat in Edinburgh suddenly isn't looking quite so bad, is it? Bearing in mind what Scotland have done in these Six Nations, and since then, they've put 60 past Italy in Italy, and
which of course England, couldn't do
absolutely
at home against Italy.
And they did a professional job on the French, and also with Sexton back now, Conor Murray, Johnny Sexton. That's potential Lions halfback combination, and they'll play a big part on Friday night, won't they?
Yeah, they'll play a huge part. Sexton for me coming back into that Irish team is pivotal to them going forward in these next 2 games. Conor Murray's been a wonderful player for the last couple of years and is just continuing to improve.
Standout 9 for the Lions at the moment?
Oh, standout 9, crikey. Laidlaw sadly got injured at the weekend, last weekend, didn't he? So, he was playing some good rugby. He was operating well with Finn Russell, putting Scotland on the front foot, and who could argue that, there's not going to be many more Scottish players in the Lions side this year, in the Lions squad, than there otherwise normally would be. But you'd probably say that Murray was up there as the number 1 choice at the minute. I think Ben Youngs would probably be second choice. Danny Kerr would be devastated that Italy employed the tactics they did in his one starting match.
So Murray Sexton, possibly the Lions halfback combination. It's going to be tight. It's going to be. The Welsh should be really up for this, won't they? Give us a prediction.
I feel Ireland are going to be too strong. They've got too much to play for. Wales really now playing for pride. and trying to salvage something out of this season. And there, of course, are going to be a number of guys on that Welsh side who are desperately going to push their claim. And these last 2 matches are going to be their opportunity to push that claim for a Lions spot. I see Ireland by 10.
And finally, you mentioned Alan Wynne-Jones. It never helps if you're captaining a losing side, but there's still a feeling that Alan Wynne is a strong contender to be the Lions captain. Do you feel as if another defeat against the Irish would play against that?
No, I don't think so. I know I met Alan. You hear great things about him as a leader and as a player, and many thought he should maybe have been captain prior to this. I think if he's the right person for the job, then he will get it.
The first game on Saturday afternoon is Italy versus France in Rome. The fact it's in Rome, Lewis, perhaps gives Italy more of a chance. Maybe they'll be galvanised by what they achieved at Twickenham, although how much of it was Italy playing well as opposed to Italy coming up with a bit of a genius master plan that bamboozled England for half the match? I don't know. But the French, they've lost 2 out of 3, but they've played quite well, haven't they? They seem to be playing better than in recent years. So you'd think the French would continue and it will be another nail in Italy's coffin, particularly when people like you think the likes of Georgia should be given a chance in the Six Nations.
I don't think Italy played particularly well. I think, Conor O'Shea, Mike Catt, Brendan Venter, hats off to their knowledge of the game and their ability to delve deep and legally within the rules of the game and come up with a tactic that completely bamboozled England and players, the coaching staff, and was the reason we got that reaction from Eddie Jones at the end of the match. I think it was a little bit of embarrassment, frustration that Italy hadn't just turned up, rolled over and died, and allowed England to practice their moves for the Scottish match, which is essentially what England needed and wanted to do. Let's look at this Italy-France match. Are France going to do anything other than put one over on Italy quite convincingly? I can't see it going any other way. I can't see Italy come up with another monster game plan that's going to really put problems in the French ranks. France in Italy, I think they're quite confident.
They're playing quite well, the French, aren't they? Even though they've lost a couple of games.
Yeah, and they've had some cracking performances. Not least by their sort of talisman at number 8, who's had just a phenomenal campaign. Yeah, Louis Bicamot. And they seem to be gaining more consistency, but I do think it'll be a game France will win quite easily. I hope Italy can pull something out of this match, because if they don't, and if they then struggle in the final
match, they got Scotland away in the last game, which again is hard to see anything else but a huge Scottish win.
But we've seen that with Scotland in years gone by, when they've had a great win over Australia or South Africa and then lose to Tonga or someone they should beat convincingly. But you're right, and if they do, I think the Six Nations and the competition really needs to be addressed, and let's look at the format and how we can get teams like Georgia involved. They're really going to push teams and challenge the likes of Italy to improve, and the likes of Scotland who have improved. A France win by a minimum 25 points.
Minimum 25 points. Are the French back?
They're certainly improved. From the turmoil that they've had over the last sort of decade, really, it's been. They seem to be now on much surer footing. Maybe the loss of a lot of more senior players has allowed the growth of this new generation coming through. It's still proliferated with like the Basteros guys that have been around, the Picamots guys that have been around for a long time. But at 9 and 10, those combinations, you've got new faces in there. So I think an exciting time for French rugby. I wouldn't say they're back yet, but I think an exciting time for them to look forward to the future.
And finally, a quick word about Sergio Parisse, fellow back rower. You would have played against him, the talisman of the Italian side, seemingly head and shoulders their best player. Seems to have all the skill sets, could almost play in any position. He's so skillful. As a back rower, could you explain to the rest of us, why is Parisse so good? And is he as good as people say, i.e. he could walk into nearly any team, if not every team?
I think the difficult thing with Parisse is that when you play on a side like Italy that aren't that good, then if you're a good rugby player, you'll tend to stand out, and he has. But he's done it consistently for a long period of time. Would he walk into any international side? I don't know if he would, but he's certainly a very talented rugby player. You know, the battle between him and Picamol, you know, two really fantastic players. You know, you can argue that Parise is world class and up there. It's certainly the ability that he has with ball in hand. He's a little bit like a throwback to Zinzan Brook, great All Black number 8. He's got the ability to pass, kick, run hard, lead and direct his team. He's very much that figure that everyone goes to, which I think sometimes is a problem for him. In the last match, I think he let his temperament get the better of him, and he was getting frustrated and making some poor choices. But certainly a wonderful player that it would have been great to see in a slightly better side, without trying to do Italy too many disservices. But it would have been good to see him in a Scottish shirt or an English shirt and see what he could really achieve.
So big French win and another bad day for Italy.
Yeah, you know, for Italy at least it's at home. They can try and arouse some emotion, some pride from the fact that they're playing in front of that Azzurri, that partisan sort of passionate crowd that will be trying to get their team going, desperate to not see another defeat on the bounce, because they came into this competition on a huge high, having just been in South Africa for the first time in their history. But you know, on reflection, I think that just shows us how poor South Africa were as a side, sadly.
And so we come to the third and final game of this weekend, Six Nations, and what an absolute belter it's going to be. England versus Scotland at Twickenham, the Calcutta Cup. Normally, Scotland, difficult at Murrayfield against England, but at Twickenham, not a happy hunting ground for them at all. I don't know, maybe just this time it might be a little bit different. The Scots believe they can win. They've played some great rugby in this Six Nations so far. The English haven't, but they've played 3-1-3. Which way is it going to go?
Well, you've pretty much covered it all there, so I don't think I need really to say anything.
Well, thank you very much.
You know, I would never have thought that prior to this tournament, England v Scotland would be a match I'd be excited about. And you know, Scotland have racked up some incredible victories. You know, Ireland and Wales, two sort of informed sides coming into this competition. But for me, both those victories were at home. The only away match they've had so far, they've lost. They should have won. You know, they very narrowly lost to France. But it's that away performance that is the difference between teams being successful and not, and especially in the Six Nations. So I'm excited about seeing what Scotland are going to deliver at Twickenham and see if they can get over that voodoo, because I think the last time they won, you know, at the HQ was nearly 30 years ago. If they can put that behind them, then we're going to see a very exciting match, full of tries and running rugby and endeavour, possibly with Billy Vunipola coming back as an exciting addition to the England back row, which has really not found its form at all during this campaign. So a promising and exciting match I think is in store, but still one that I think England will edge. Yeah,
you mentioned the back row. Normally a strong point of England's play, but the Scots back row have actually done really well, beating Ireland and beating Wales. So Billy Vunipola coming back, I think, will be a big plus for England. But the Scots are really putting their hands up, aren't they, for the Lions in a way that they haven't before. The Gray brothers in the second row both had a fantastic campaign so far, and the back three, whoever it is, because Tim Visser wasn't even in the starting 15 and was fantastic in the last game. So if England are going to kick, they've got to kick well, haven't they?
They do, and you know, I think Scotland are really benefiting from having virtually their entire squad play at one club, which is Glasgow. But you know, when you've got Hogg at the back, you've got Finn Russell pulling the strings, you've got the Gray brothers, as you mentioned. You know, you've got some really exciting guys across the paddock from 1 to 15 that can change the game. Whereas for so many years, sadly, Scotland had one or two here or there, and that's the difference. And I think also the difference for Scotland is the confidence that they're gaining from the continuity of form that they can deliver. And I think that comes from the time they're spending at Glasgow. You know, building a performance against Leicester where they nilled Leicester at home at Welford Road. and the majority of that side then goes into the international arena with a huge amount of confidence and belief in each other. And that belief is vital when you come into close matches, which Six Nations games always are.
England were embarrassed about their performance against Italy. Eddie Jones was furious. You've been there. I would imagine the training has been pretty full on since. Do you think actually the performance and it was England won and they got a bonus point, but they didn't put the 50 points that everybody thought that they would. Do you think actually that might be bad news for Scotland?
No, I think the Scotland side is a changed beast. I think they play much more sensible, clever rugby. They rely less on the emotion and the history of the Bannockburns and all the battles and the history that these two great nations have had against each other. And I think now they play a much more sensible and organised game of rugby. So no, I don't think that will bother them. I think the issues they'll have is can they stop the likes of Billy Vunipola, James Haskell getting over the gain line if Vunipola is fit, of course. Because once England get in behind teams, then they have the ability with Daly, with Noel, who's looked so hungry since he's come back. May, if he's in and around, Watson potentially coming back into some form now as well. All these guys with electric ability, and Teo, who's scored I think in every game he's played in his international career. So whether it's from 1 metre or 2 metres, it doesn't matter. That's a prolific record. So it's if they can stop those big ball carriers getting over the gain line, then it makes England's life much harder. But I still think England will edge this game.
By a score, 2 scores?
At Twickenham, I'd like to think it'd be by 2 scores, but I think a much improved Scotland side will keep it narrow going into that very last play of the game. So maybe England by 5.